So I need a tongue jack. So that's the next thing that I'm going to do is add a tongue jack to this. I bought this thing from Tractor Supply, and it comes with like a weld-on cylinder that's just going to get welded right onto the tongue right there. And then I'll be able to remove this. It won't be able to rotate sideways, and there'll be nowhere for it to go. So when I'm traveling, it's going to have to be completely removed. So that'll just stick right there. And then after that, these are my chain hookups. I'm not sure if this is exactly what I'm going to use. I might just use some bar and loop it around there, but these will get welded onto the bottom. I'm not really sure if I'm going to use them, so imagine this is the bottom. Okay, so we got the tongue jack adapter on there. Already put the tongue jack on there and made sure that it was all good to go. So that's on. So I'm waiting for a new tool to come in. So progress is going to kind of come to a halt until I get that in. But it should be in Monday. I'm recording this here currently. It's Saturday. So, but the next step is to start lining up the posts and kind of measuring out how I'm going to build up the box on top of the frame here. And in order to do that, all these edges right here need to be kind of ground down close to flat or completely flat if I can get them. So just all these little welds in between these joints just to ground down so I can do that. Okay, so I kind of propped up the trailer on a chair, which is the safest way to do that. And I've cleaned up this spot of the receiver on the front of the tongue, and I'm going to weld those little, I don't know what you call them, the chain links onto that right there. So both of them will go on like that, kind of at an angle from each other. So, and I think that'll work just fine. They don't need to be exact, they just need to be stuck on there good. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
$346 later.
Got myself a new toy to help with all the sheet metal cutting that I have to do. Ooh, plasma cutter.
Nice.
We're going to put the plasma cutter on the welding cart, but first I need to clean this up. There it is. So I'm going to put the plasma cutter right down here because I got my welder up top. So I got the same brand plasma cutter that I got welder. It's a Yeswelder, and it's the Yeswelder CUT65DS. So it's a 220 volt. It can also be used in 110 volt. Let's go ahead and unbox this. Let's see here. Cable. That's nice, actually. I like that. So one complaint that I kind of have about, hold on, lens. Hold on. Okay, I wanted to do this without the fans running, but it's just too hot in here. So one complaint that I kind of have about the Yeswelder, what is this? The 205DS. It is a 110, 220 volt welder, but in order to use it, the power cable coming out of it is a 110 volt power cable, and so you have to use a 220 volt adapter. It comes with the 220 volt adapter, but I would prefer the standard to be 220 volt, and then if I want to, I can adapt down to 110 volt. So this is their newer series plasma cutter, and it's standard with the 220 volt, and it has, I'm pretty sure it has an adapter because it says that it's 110 or 220 volts, so I'm pretty sure it comes with an adapter to adapt down to 110 volts. Yeah, there's the adapter right there. So there's your 220 to 110 adapter right there. So that's cool. So now I have an adapter for both. Sweet. Operator's manual. Also, there's two little snap-in air fittings in there. Let's see here. Ground earth cable. There's that adapter we were just talking about, but there's some arrows that it comes with as well. And I believe that this is the air filter. Yeah, there's the air filter, and it's got a little piece on it in the back. So let's get all this stuff out of the way. Sweet. So, ooh, this thing weighs like 5 pounds. It's super lightweight. Look at that. All right. Make sure I didn't miss anything else in the box. That's it. Set the box up and down. We'll set it up on top of the box here. Adjust the camera. Okay. I'm super excited about this. So, I don't necessarily need a plasma cutter. I could get by with my angle grinder. I could get by with a reciprocating saw, right? There's other ways to cut metal, obviously. But this, I got a good deal on this. It's something I didn't want to say no to. And it is going to make it a lot easier. My reciprocating saw that I have is battery powered, and it's super old. And I'm able to pretty much cut, like, let's say, maybe 6 inches, and the battery dies. So I can go through 2 batteries in about 5 minutes, and then I'm out, and I'm just waiting for it to charge. Let's do some setup. So, step this back a bit. So, we got the torch. We'll put that on last. In order to run a plasma cutter, in case you don't know this, you need an air compressor. And also you want to look at what the like input requirements are for this to make sure that your air compressor can actually handle it. Some plasma cutters actually have little air compressors built into them. I don't know how well those work or how well they don't work. I don't know. I will say this. My air compressor should work. It should put out enough power. So looking at what the minimum requirements are for mine and what the output of my air compressor is, they match. But what that means is that because my air compressor isn't above and beyond what this requires, what that means is that I might not be able to make as long cuts before I have to let my air compressor kind of refill its reserve, and that's fine. So this is your pressure regulator, and it also has a filter in it, and it's also supposed to separate and drain out water. Now right behind this pressure indicator, there's an arrow that tells you which direction the flow of air is going through this air filter and pressure regulator. And it's cool because you can just pull this up, and this is where you're going to adjust your input pressure. This thing's going to allow to go into the machine. So here's the hose. one side's gonna go into this, and then it's gonna go down to this. So we don't need this much hose. So you can cut air tubing with like a nice pair of, you know, like a diagonal cutters or something like that. But as opposed to the word diagonal, you want to make sure that you cut them straight, right? You want the cuts to be as straight as possible. So they make these, and they're not expensive, and they're literally air tubing cutters, and they work really great. It's going to pinch it on both sides and make sure that it actually cuts it straight. So we need to know approximately how much tube we need, and I would say about there. That's real measurements right there that I just did. And cut that. And then once we have that piece, let's see. We have a little bit to play with, so we can get it wrong a couple times. So these little snap-in connectors, they're pretty cool. I like these. You can just push this little hose in and it'll just lock itself in place. There you go. And then if you want to release these, if I remember correctly, you just push on the blue part and you can just pull it right back out. I like these connectors a lot. They work well. So push it in like that, and it has like a little click, and you're good to go. And then this part right here, try not to kink this hose. Push it in like that. There you go. So without any kinks in the hose, there we have it. So that's what you. So here you go, improved welding cart. I was able to fit the welder and the plasma cutter up on the cart together. What I had to do was I had to weld these parts right here, just tacked them in. And remove the bolts that were holding them on there previously, because those, I mean, just with those bolts on there, I literally only needed like a quarter of an inch more to fit both of them up here on top instead of having to put one on the bottom shelf down there. And so I just decided to just tack all these pieces on so that it holds them on there. So welder, ground, and gun, and then connected all my plasma cutter stuff, plasma cutter, torch, and ground for that. And the reason why I wanted the plasma cutter up top, I don't want to put the welder on the bottom because then it's annoying to get to, but also the plasma cutter, I actually have to access the back of it regularly, because this is where you adjust your pressure input and output depending on what thickness of steel you're cutting, whereas the back of the plasma cutter I only have to access it turned on and off, and that's really it. So I wanted this to be easily accessible, not having to mess with it every single time I have to make an adjustment. But then I also I thought about putting the welder on the bottom, but I didn't want to do that because then it's hard to see your adjustments here. And so, you know, right here, it's just both very convenient. They fit. There you have it. So I was about to use my plasma cutter for the first time, got all my lines drawn I need to cut on it and stuff, and got everything hooked up, and plasma cutter doesn't work. So it's plugged in, everything's hooked up, powered on. First indicator that something's not working is that the cooling fan doesn't turn on when it's powered on. Come around to the front, you can see that it's reading out the voltage, right? But then the PCB board isn't receiving power, and I'm not sure what the issue is. So I sent an email to Yeswelder support to see if there's something that I might be doing wrong or something I can fix about it, and if not, then I'll just replace it and get another one. So, because I mean, I haven't even used the thing yet. I just plugged it in, set it up, and that was it. But that little hiccup wasn't going to stop all my progress. Now that I have a clear vision of what I need to do next, I can start cutting out the framework for the box that will sit on top of the trailer's frame. Once my replacement plasma cutter comes in, I will begin cutting the sheet metal. Okay, so I need 4 of these pieces for each side, and then I was going to put 3 on the front just so that I have kind of a center brace, so it's not just a sheer wall of sheet metal in the front in between 2 posts. I don't have enough of these 2x2s to do 4 here, 4 there, and 3 in the front. I'm 1 short. So, as it turns out, I have some scrap pieces here that, if welded back together, will make 1 piece that's long enough. So it's not a structural piece, so I'm not too worried about that. So I'm going to bezel those down, and I'm going to make those 3 pieces into 1, and then I'll cut it to 27 inches and the rest of them just like that. It's like it was never 3 different pieces. So there we go. I measured it out and drew the line for 27 inches. So